I hadn't seen her in 7 years since senior prom night when I clumsily shook her hand in the kitchen while Ashley retrieved her heels. Even then, as an 18-year-old kid in a too-tight tux, I realized Ashley's mother was unique. Not just lovely, not just trendy. She exuded a sense of knowing exactly how she affected everyone around her and how she could manipulate it if she so desired. And now, at 27, I was standing in her living room again, clutching a glass of wine I hadn't asked for, pretending I hadn't noticed how her gaze lingered for too long. Ashley had invited me to her mom's birthday party as a friend. We hadn't dated in years, and it ended so abruptly that we never had a major argument. But we stayed in touch. An occasional text, a few likes here and there. So when she messaged me out of nowhere, "Hey, mom is turning 50, I thought it would be wonderful if you came just like old times." I did not look into it. I should have. "God, you've grown so much," her mother observed, setting down her drink. She was dressed in a black silk garment that clung to areas it shouldn't. Her hair was up with loose strands falling like she'd spent hours attempting to make it look effortless. "You aren't the uncomfortable boy I remember." She stated it slowly and thoughtfully. I chuckled and tried to keep things casual. That happens over time. Also, I believe the awkward portion still appears when I least expect it. She smiled, but not politely. No, this smile was heavy, like if she was amused by a joke only she knew. Awkward might be appealing to the right person. I wasn't sure what to say, so I looked down at my wine and swirled it as if I understood what I was doing. The remainder of the house echoed with polite laughing and mellow jazz. Ashley was catching up with some old pals. Her partner hadn't shown up, and for some reason her mother started talking to me. She stood uncomfortably close. Her perfume. Every time she leaned in to talk, I felt something warm like vanilla and smoke curl about me, and she caressed my arm repeatedly, casually, like if it meant nothing, but it did. At some point, we were alone in the kitchen. I was getting a bottle of sparkling water from the fridge when she walked in behind me barefoot, now heels dangling from her fingertips. "God, these shoes!" She groaned, taking a step beside me. "Beautiful, yet terrible." I laughed. "That is fashion, right?" She leaned on the counter facing me. "You have superb posture, broad shoulders, and strong hands." Her gaze lowered briefly. "You did not have that when you dated my daughter." She said it calmly and quietly, as if it were a truth rather than a compliment. "I suppose I've filled out a little since then," I murmured, feeling my skin warm. She took a step forward. "You did." For a little moment we stood there. The silence was not unpleasant. It was dense like the silence that contains a choice. I should have left and said I needed to find Ashley. I should have mentioned work tomorrow or stated anything. Instead, I asked the worst possible question. "Do you ever think back?" She raised one eyebrow. "Remember when you were dating my daughter?" I nodded slowly. My heartbeat was racing. She examined my face, waiting for me to recoil, then she grinned. "Slow down, feline. I think about a lot of things, but not in the way you might expect unless you want me to." My breath caught. I did not move. Neither did she. The night didn't finish with fireworks. After an hour, I left giving her a nice goodbye and hugging Ashley goodnight as well. But I could not sleep. Her voice echoed in my head, as did her grin and the way her fingers had brushed mine as she offered me a drink. I hated how vividly I remembered it. I despised how much I wanted to. 2 days later, I received a message. From her. Not Ashley. Her mother. "Hello, leftover cake. Do you want to come by?" I stared at the screen for too long, and I went. When I arrived, the house was quiet. It was early evening and still light outside. She answered the door barefoot again, wearing yoga pants and a soft gray tank top that appeared too casual for company. Her hair was down, this time looser and gentler. I convinced myself that it was just cake. However, I knew it wasn't. "You arrived," she replied, seemingly astonished. "I invited you. I was unsure whether you would." She stepped aside, allowing me in. There was no one else home. Ashley had returned to her flat across town. That much was obvious without asking. We sat in the kitchen. The cake was on a white dish. She poured me coffee. No wine this time, no excuses. Have you ever considered going back with her? She asked nonchalantly. It took me off guard. With Ashley, I shrugged. We're not the same anymore. We were only kids. She nodded as if she anticipated it. Then she leaned forward slightly, elbows on the counter, fingers encircling her mug. She mentions you occasionally. My throat clenched. Really? Yeah, she replied, peering at me over the rim of her cup. But I don't believe she understands who you've become. There was a prolonged pause. Her gaze lingered on mine for too long again. I looked down and then back up, and that's when I spotted her legs extended toward mine beneath the table. Not touching, but near, almost brushing. I did not move. She didn't either. The discussion strayed. Memories, childhood stories, old photographs. We laughed, really. And for a while it nearly seemed harmless, as if she were simply a woman reminiscing with a younger man who used to be a part of her family's lives. However, the way she looked at me remained consistent. It was the kind of stare that seemed like it was removing layers from you. Slow, warm, dangerous. And I was allowing her. She stood up and grabbed something. A photo album, perhaps. I got up too absent-mindedly. We found ourselves face to face in the corridor. She did not move to one side. I froze. So did she. Then her palm as light as air brushed my chest, just where my heart was hammering. She muttered, "You used to be this scrawny little thing. Now look at yourself." She looked up at me. I should have said something. I should have taken a step back. Instead, I mentioned her name, quietly, like a question, like a confession. Claire. Her eyes fluttered. Not surprised. Perhaps satisfied. "You always say it like you're not supposed to." She added her lips so near I could feel her breath. "But what if you are?" At that point, I took a step back, fast. I muttered something. I can't even remember what it was. Something about needing to leave. She did not chase me. She simply grinned, slow, unreadable, and nodded. She said, "I'll pack you a slice," as if nothing had happened. However, we both knew it had. The following day, she texted again. "I left something for you in the kitchen. Come by if you're free." I didn't respond. I did not go. I told myself that it was over, that I had imagined the strain, that nothing occurred, that I was overthinking. 3 days later, I returned home from work to find her waiting outside my apartment. She looked different. Jeans, white blouse, hair pulled back, casual but bright. She did not look like a mother. She did not appear to be someone who should be avoided. She resembled a storm poised to break. I was nearby, she explained, without bothering to lie. I stared at her. My mind screamed, "Don't let her in." But my mouth said, "Would you like to come up for a minute?" And she did. Inside, everything seemed sharper, brighter, as if the room had been holding its breath since she entered. She moved around as if she belonged there. I noticed the guitar in the corner. The books are on the shelf. She ran her fingertips along the arm of the couch. "Do you live alone?" she inquired. I nodded. She turned to face me. "You're always this silent when women visit." "I am not used to having women like you visit," I added before I could stop myself. She smiled, and then she came right up to me, slow, deliberate, and stood only inches away. I did not kiss her. I did not need to, because her fingers reached up and touched my jaw, softly, as if she were memorizing it. Then her hand remained there, delicately resting on my face. She muttered, "I remember when you couldn't look me in the eye." "I still barely can," I said. Her thumb ran across my cheek. "But you are." I swallowed. The globe felt as if it was toppling. Then she leaned forward, bringing her lips near to mine. "Are you afraid of me?" she asked. I nodded. "Barely," good, she replied. "You should be." She kissed me, soft, slow. Yes, sure, it was not rushed, it was not desperate. She seemed to have an endless supply of time, and she knew I would not stop her. Because I hadn't. Her lips tasted of red wine and danger. Her fingers went up to my chest. Her fingers threaded into my hair. My hands hovered, unsure until they didn't. Until they were on her waist and back, pushing her in closer. I should have pulled away, I did not. When she eventually broke the kiss, she didn't back away. She kept her body close to mine, and her breath warmed my neck. That, she claimed, was long overdue. My heartbeat was pounding in my ears. She looked up. "I am what Ashley's mother." Her smile was evil. "You are not with Ashley, that is not the point." So, what is I did not have an answer? Because the fact the dreadful blazing truth was that I desired her more than anything else in years. She knew it. She did not stay the night. She kissed me once again, slower, longer. Then he responded, I do not want to rush this, and left with a smile that plagued me all night. I barely slept, and when I did, I dreamed about her. Over the next few days, everything shifted. Texts, late night calls, small things. She emailed me photographs, not explicit but intimate. She was on the balcony dressed in a silk robe, her fingers wrapped around a coffee mug in bed, her legs tucked under her on the couch holding a book. Everyone was a trap, and I marched straight into each one. We began meeting, discreetly. Coffee cafes outside of town, walks around calm parks, then my apartment again. This time she did not depart. We didn't talk when it happened, no declarations. No hesitations, just skim, breath, pressure, release. It was slow, intense. Every action was filled with years of strain before snapping. She understood what she was doing. I was sloppy in comparison, but she guided me, patient, teasing. She seemed to be teaching me things I should have learnt a long time ago. And then we lay tangled in sheets. Her head is on my chest. She said, Do you regret it? I did not even pause. No. But I felt it, the guilt, not regret. Simply the seriousness of what we were undertaking. I thought about Ashley. Consider the version of myself who would have been appalled. Imagine what this would look like if anyone found out. But none of this stopped me. Because once she touched me again, all else vanished. It became a covert routine. She'd text Ashley while he was busy or out of town. She never stayed long. She never asked for anything else. But I started wanting more. I began to need more. And that's when things turned dangerous. I called her one night instead, not the other way around. Come over, I said. I miss you. There was a pause in the line. You okay, she asked. No, I confess. I suppose I am falling for you. The silence extended. And when she finally spoke, her tone had changed. You cannot say stuff like that. Why not? I warned you. This is not a fairy tale. It's not intended to last. Perhaps I don't care, she exhaled. Yes, I do. Then she hung up. That was the first time she backed away. I panicked. I sent a text called nothing. A day has gone. Then two. On the third day, I visited her residence. Stupid, so foolish. I did not even knock. I stood across the street like a stalker hoping to catch a glance. That's when I spotted Ashley's automobile. I turned to leave, my heart pounding, but the door opened. Claire stepped outside. She froze when she saw me. Ashley was just behind her. Wait, is that true? Ashley inquired, frowning. Claire replied quickly. Oh, this is someone I used to work with. I nodded stiffly. Yes, I apologize. Incorrect address. And I left, fast. I did not glance back. That night she approached me. There's no warning. She shook as I opened the door. What were your thoughts? She snapped. You nearly ruined everything. I just wanted to talk. You cannot just turn up. This is not a movie. I did not mean to. Stop. Do not talk. Just... She kissed me. Hard. Needy. However, there was agony involved this time. Something desperate. When she pulled back, her eyes were blurry. I can't keep doing this, she explained. We're going to be caught. I do not care. Well, I do, she replied, because when everything blows apart, you walk away. I've lost my daughter, my reputation, and my life. She turned to go. I grabbed her wrists, gently, Claire. She stared at me, really glanced at me, and for the first time I noticed fear in her. Have no fear of me. Fear for what we'd started. I warned you, she repeated. Then she was gone. I did not hear from her for a week. The quiet was awful. I walked like a ghost. Everything reminded me of her. There's perfume in the air, a tune from the radio, the way my sheets smelled. I could not eat, couldn't sleep. I despised how much influence she wielded over me. I resented how much I needed her to call. She finally did it one night about midnight. She did not say hi, just curious, are you alone? Yes, do not talk. Simply open the door. She appeared different this time, not composed. Shaky, hair is unkempt. Her eyes were red-rimmed as if she had been sobbing. She strolled inside without saying anything, and collapsed in my arms. And then she said it. I believe she knows. I believe she knows. The words struck me like a slap. I gripped her tightly, but my mind was racing. You mean Ashley? She nodded against my chest. I noticed her looking through my phone. She said nothing, but I noticed how she stared at me afterwards. Distant, cold. I attempted to breathe, but my chest felt constricted. What if she... Claire murmured, she has not confronted me. Yet, the stillness between us was profound. I felt her heart beating against mine. "What do we do?" I eventually asked. She looked up at me. My eyes were filled with regret and something else I couldn't place. "I don't know," she said. "I don't know anymore." We did not sleep that night. Not really. We lay in bed together, scarcely touching, just breathing. I wanted to say something that would resolve everything. That would take away the fear. However, there were no words. We had created something out of lies and stolen moments. And suddenly, it was beginning to collapse. But neither of us could give it up. The next morning, she left before daylight. She said she had to handle things. I hadn't heard from her all day. Then, around 6 p.m., I received a text from Ashley. "Hey, can we speak?" My stomach sank. I looked at the screen for a long time. Then I responded, "Sure, when now?" "Your place," I typed with shaky hands. She arrived 10 minutes later. Alone. No makeup, hair in a bun. She seemed exhausted. Not angry, just sad. She came in without hugging me, sat on the couch. I said nothing for a long time. Then, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" My lungs lost all of their air. She looked up. Do not lie, and I broke. I told her everything. Not in depth. Not the things I couldn't express aloud, but enough. Her face was motionless, too still. When I finished, she simply stared at the floor. Then, after a prolonged interval, she said, "I already knew." These 3 words devastated me. What I saw the text. Weeks ago. Why didn't you say anything?" She shrugged. "Because I did not trust it at first. Then, I did. But I didn't want this to be true." Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "She's my mother," she whispered. How could she? I did not have an answer. She is supposed to protect me, not seduce my ex. Her voice cracked with that word. Seduce. It seemed like it was burning as it came out. "I never intended to hurt you," I replied quietly. She laughed, bitter and soft. "Of course you did not. You simply didn't care enough not to." Then she stood. "I won't see any of you again. Not now." She walked towards the door, turned. Whatever it was, I hope it was worthwhile. Then she departed. I stood there, alone. She departed in silence. It was terrible. Then my phone buzzed. "Claire, did she speak to you?" "Yes," I typed. "She knows." "She's gone." There was no response. Not that night. Not the following day. Not the day following that, 1 week later. I passed by her house. It was vacant. The windows are dark. Curtains pulled. Mailbox is full. I called. Go straight to voicemail. It was as if she had disappeared. And perhaps this was her way of protecting us both. Perhaps it was her way of running. All I knew was that it was over. The storm we could not halt had finally subsided, and it left nothing intact. It's been 8 months. I have not seen her. Not once. No telephone calls, no messages. No chance encounters at the grocery store. It's as if she disappeared into the past, into that bizarre, stolen portion of my life which at times feels like it happened to someone else. Nonetheless, every morning I wake up, and I think about her, Claire. I attempted to move on. I deleted our photographs. I burned the letters she left on my refrigerator. I got rid of the coffee mug she used whenever she was here. I even tried to date again. It did not work, because every time I looked into someone else's eyes, I was expecting warmth, the edge. I used to see a quiet challenge in hers, and it was not there. Ashley never reached out again. I do not blame her. If I were her, I wouldn't do either. I crossed a line that should not be crossed. I let passion blind me. I let selfishness lead me. I knew it was wrong, but I did it anyway. I've played that truth in my thoughts 1,000 times, and it eventually stopped being a punishment. It became clear. Sometimes you utterly break something and there is no way to fix it. You can only learn how to coexist with the parts. That is what I have been doing. One Saturday morning, I was seated at a cafe I hadn't been to in years. Claire and I had a private meeting there early on. I hadn't planned to come here. I happened to walk past and was compelled to approach it. I sat outside, got coffee, felt the wind on my face, and then saw her. She was across the street, her hair a little shorter, sunglasses on, clutching a paper bag and her phone, and walking quickly, as if she was late for something. My heart has stopped. I almost stood, but didn't. I just watched. She appeared older, but still so lovely that it hurt. She hesitated halfway across the crossing. She turned her head directly at me. We met eyes. For around 3 seconds, not one word. There was no wave or smile, only quiet. Recognition. Then she walked on. I waited there for a long time after she disappeared down the street. I didn't chase her, text her, or promise myself we'd have another chance. Because something about her expression told me we'd already had our moment. We broke it. The strange part was that I didn't feel destroyed. Not this time. I was relieved. That night, I brought up the journal I'd started shortly after she left. I kept it locked in the drawer. I switched to the final page and wrote, "You taught me the difference between wanting someone and being prepared for them. You made me feel emotions I didn't realize I could have. You ruined me, and I let you, but I do not detest you. I thank you." I closed the journal, and for the first time in months, I slept all night. Now, when I think of Claire, I don't feel guilty or ashamed. It's not lust either. It is something quieter. I survived just like a chapter. A part of me burnt and then healed. She wasn't only Ashley's mother, she was more than simply a mistake. She reminded me of myself, one that revealed who I was and who I wasn't prepared to be. I'm not sure if she thinks about me. Perhaps she does. Perhaps she remembers my hands, I laugh. I stared at her as if she were both sin and salvation. Or perhaps I'm just a story she keeps hidden away, just as I do with her. Either way, we're done. And that must be okay. I ran into Ashley a few weeks ago. She was in a bookstore with someone new, tall dude, clean cut. It appeared that he made her chuckle. She saw me. And this time, she went over. "Hello," she said. I stood, nervous. "Hello, how have you been better?" I replied honestly. "Trying to become better." She nodded. Then she stated something unexpected. I was angry, but I understand it now. Not all of it, but enough. I wasn't sure what to say. She smiled. I felt a small touch on my arm and said, "Take care of yourself." And then they left. That night I cried. Not because I miss Claire, not due to guilt, but because of Ashley's forgiveness, that small portion of it. It seemed like the first crack of sunlight after a long, dark winter. It did not erase anything, but it allowed me to breathe again. Now I am writing. It helps. Sometimes I write letters that I will never send. I sometimes write to no one at all, but I wrote them down. Because some stories must be expelled from your body before they rot you from within. Claire was my inspiration. Ashley was my outcome. And I am the man they both helped me to become. No happy conclusion. There is no spectacular reunion. No one knocked on my door in the rain. Just a peaceful acceptance that some love tales are designed to break you so that you can rebuild something greater later. Even if it's just you.